Welcome all, welcome to this lab of advanced Java programming. Today we'll be starting with Unit 3, Servlet programming, and I'll also check your IDE installation. I want to confirm whether you people are able to set up the environment that is necessary for running our programs, okay, or whether you have not yet done it. So once I'll show you what has to be done with the program, how is the program to be made, afterwards I'll check that. Okay, let me first show the disclaimer. Okay, so let me start the actual session. Okay, so now check this out. This is the NetBeans IDE. When you open NetBeans IDE, okay, you should make sure that you have server and all those things installed all along with the NetBeans installation only. Okay, so this NetBeans installation comes with the server installation. Okay, when I install this NetBeans, it asked me to install which server you want to install. So I had selected Glassfish server. So what I will do is I will create a new web application by going to File and New Project. Okay, I'll say New Project, and see here I will get an option called as Java Web. Which option? I will get an option called as Java Web. In this Java Web, I will be able to make a web application using servlets and JSPs. Okay. There are other applications also that you can use for JavaFX or full Java EE based application, or simple HTML5 based application, or simple Java application, right? But we will be using this one, Java Web. Okay. So let me select that. In that, I'll select web application, which is by default selected. Then I will click on next. Okay. So as soon as I click on next, check out over here that here 4 things are asked. One is to choose the project that we started with, right? Second is name and location, that is currently over here. Name and location, where we give the name of our project and the location. By default, it takes the location that we would have provided. Otherwise, you may set it from here. You can browse any particular folder and keep your project location over there. I would suggest you keep your own program location so that you can easily find your programs. Okay. Once this is done, you click on next. Okay. So let me select the name. Let me select specifically let me give it the name as WebApp1 or WebApp01. Okay. And now I click on next. Now it will ask me for server settings, other settings. And then it will ask me for framework, whether I want to include any framework in my project or not. So right now we will not be selecting this framework, but we will have to focus on this part, servers and settings. Okay. So from here, you can select a particular server, right? If that server is installed along with the NetBeans, or even if you have installed any server separately, you can add it from here. Okay. So let me select Glassfish. I have installed both Tomcat and Glassfish, so I will select Glassfish. And which Java EE version I want, that I can select. That is as per the installation that you've done. And then we send next. This is the context path. This is the path which will be used to refer to the application, WebApp01. That is the name of the application and name of the folder also. Then I click on this next. And now it will ask me for frameworks. Now we don't need any frameworks right now. But once we go ahead, we may use frameworks like JSF or Hibernate or Spring as per our syllabus. Okay. Then we'll say finish. Okay. So tell me, how many of you are able to do this much task? How many of you are able to do this much? Yes. Yes, guys. Who is able to do this? If you are able to do this much task, so see, if you are able to do this much task, okay. Now check this out. In this web app, you have got web pages folder, okay. You have got web pages folder, source packages folder, libraries folder, and configuration folder. This is your web application. Okay. So if you are able to do this much task, then it means you are ready to go and run your Java web programs. Okay. So check this out. In this web pages, we have this index.html, which is by default given to us by this IDE, that is NetBeans. Okay, we have a web.inf folder where all private files can be kept, which right now it is empty. Then we have source packages where a default package is there where we can put our Java source code. Okay, and we have libraries. You can see JDK libraries are installed along with this app and given in this app, and Glassfish server library is also included. So it means we can run server-based programs. That is the programs that you make use of servlets and JSPs. And then we have configuration files, right? So now basically we have these four things, and in this web pages and source packages are very much important to us. Okay, so if you are able to create this much, then it means you are ready to go. And now if you want to check it out, then you can just check out over here instead of this div tag, or let's add one more tag over here, h1, and here we will say hello world h1. Okay, now if we run this particular project, then it will start the Eclipse. What it will do? It will start Eclipse. Check this out. It has started, sorry, Glassfish server, not Eclipse. Sorry. It will start Glassfish server. What will it start? It will start the Glassfish server. Why? Because that is the main library that is we have used for server side running. Okay. So this particular application will run as a server application. So you can see Glassfish is starting and lots of things are being started in it. You can see there are lots of things that it needs to start, right? And once it starts, it will load this particular application into the context, and then it will run the application onto a browser. So check this out. Here it says web app 01 was successfully deployed. What did it say? Check this out. Here it says web app 01 was successfully deployed. Okay, and now if we check this output, here it is. This is the div tag and this is h1 tag, right? And see how it is running. It is basically running through the web browser. You can see over here that this is the URL. This is the URL that is used basically to run the application. What is the URL? URL is http colon / localhost colon 8080 / webapp01. So see, this web application has started. Basically this URL is something like this: http colon / localhost colon 8080 / webapp01 slash index.html. This is the main file that is running. This index.html, this is the output of index.html. This output is of index.html. Okay. So see, this is what, this is nothing but the URL. What is this? This is the URL, Uniform Resource Locator, in order to run the program. So as I told you people before, that previously in Java you used to run your programs like this. First you used to compile Java C hello world dot Java, and then you used to run it like this on command line, right? Hello world, right? Java and class name, right? But now that is not the case. Here the compilation will be done by the server, by the IDE, and it will be deployed by the IDE, and we'll be running it onto the browser by putting this URL into the browser address bar. Okay. Now this method will not be followed for specifically running the programs of Servlets, JSPs, JSF, Spring. Okay, at least for these 4 units we will not be using this particular method of running the programs. Okay, so we will use, normally we will use browser only, and in browser we will be using what? We will be using URL. Okay, and URL has got some parts in it. Let's see what are those. So see, this URL has got, starts with HTTP. So this thing says that what protocol is being used, what protocol is being used in order to communicate with the server. Okay, so HTTP protocol is being used. Obviously we will be using HTTP server, and we will be developing HTTP based servlets only. Okay, in this, as per the syllabus. Then we have localhost. Now this is what, this is nothing but this is the host machine, host address, host machine address. It can also be an IP address. Here you can even type IP address like 127.0.0.1. This is a loopback address. What is this? This is a loopback address, loopback IP address. Means it will, the request is, it seems like you are sending a request to a particular IP address, but this IP address refers to your own machine, so the request will come to your own machine itself. That's why it is called as loopback IP address. This IP address is also equivalent to localhost. Localhost means local machine. Okay, you can have any other IP address also, like this kind of IP address can also be put over here. Okay, understand? So basically this localhost is this part is nothing but the host address. After colon, then there, here you can see there is a colon. Right? So after colon there is a port number. What is this? This is the port number. Port number of what? Port number of the application, of the server which is listening for the request. Okay, this is the port number of the server which is hosting your web application. Okay, so on this port number there can be lots of applications, lots of web applications running. So server will be waiting on this, will be listening on this particular port number for HTTP based requests coming in for some particular projects or some particular web applications. So how would it identify that for which application, which web application the request has come? Okay, so that part starts from here. This is nothing but the web app name. This is actually the web application title. From here actually your path starts, because a server may be a server may be hosting lots of web applications, right? So this much part will be common for all the web applications. But from here, the path will change for each and every web application. Okay. And path will include lots of other things. Not only the web application name, but it can include the folder list or folder path, and then the resource name. So this is basically the path. This is also called as path, and this last name is the index name, that is basically that is termed basically as the resource, or simply resource name. What is this? This is the resource name. See, web applications consider everything as resources. Okay, user, we as a client, we as a user request to access that particular resource. So any file, any HTML file, any JSP file, any Servlet file, all these are termed as resources. By whom? By the server. Server sees them as resources, right? So this is the resource name, okay, which is being requested. So once we send the request through this URL, by putting this URL into the address bar over here, what it will do, it will send a request to the server, right? This will send a request to the server, and server will reply back with this particular output. Okay, understand? First of all, you understand the structure of the URL. URL is divided into lots of things like protocol, right? Like what? Like protocol, host address or IP address, port number, path, and resource name. Okay. So you will see, sir, your resource name is not given, index.html is not given. So yes, it's okay. It will automatically open the index file, index.html or index.jsp file, whichever is available and whichever is the main welcome file inside welcome file list, that will be opened first. Okay. So I hope you understand how do we access the Java programs in this advanced Java subject, right? This is how we run the Java programs, by making use of the URL. Okay. Understand this part? So right now we are using only HTML file, but we have not yet used any Java files. Okay. So we can make use of Java files also. What here I will do is I'll go to this Project Explorer. This is Project Explorer. See, if I minimize it from here, it will come over here. If I click over here and select this to dock it, it will get docked. This is the Project Explorer. Okay. And in this Project Explorer, I will click on this web app, our main project. I'll right click on it and I'll say new Servlet. It will ask me for the name. So here I will say Servlet 1. Okay. Then if I click on next, see, check this out. It says which project, which source package, which package name you want to use. Obviously we'll use default package only. We say next. And here is the main thing. This part is very much necessary. This is configuring the Servlet deployment. So there is something called as web.xml, which is also called as the deployment descriptor. Deployment descriptor, okay, which describes, you see, what is this? Which deployment descriptor? It describes how you will be deploying the Servlet so that the users can access it. So you need to add some information in order to you need to add the information to where? To this web.xml or to this deployment descriptor. So if you click this, if you select this, then that will be added. And what is that information? So check this out. If I click on this, that information will added to web.xml. And what information will be added to web.xml? Yes, this particular information will be added. Which class name? Our class name is Servlet1. That Servlet1 class name is internally called as Servlet1. The Servlet name for that class is Servlet1. And what will be the URL pattern to access it? That is defined over here. So see, now a Servlet has got three names. Remember, a Servlet program has got three names. The first one is that is given by the developer. This is given by developer. Okay. Then comes the second name, which is used by the developer or the environment or simply by the server. Okay. This is used by the server to recognize that particular servlet name. Okay. This is for internal use also. You can say for internal use by the server. And then comes the URL pattern. This is actually used by the user. This is actually used by the user. So you can provide here any name, like you can provide something like this also. You can say this will be /hello. Okay. So this URL pattern will be used in order to access the servlet. So what will be the final URL in order to access this servlet? The final URL will be something like this. Check this out. It will be something like this. http://localhost:8080/web1 and /hello. So this part will come over here. Okay, this is nothing but this. So it means when user enters this particular URL, what server will do is server will map it to a particular URL pattern and check, okay, this refers to this URL pattern. So then it will map to the internal servlet. It will see that this URL pattern matches onto which servlet name, and then it sees, okay, I have to actually run a Java class. This is a Java application, so it will obviously be running a Java class. So how to run that Java class? Well, that Java class is identified by this servlet name. So then it will see, okay, this servlet name refers to this particular Java class. Understand? So from URL to servlet name, and from servlet name to Java class. This is how it traverses and finally runs this particular class that will reply to user. When will it reply to user? When this URL is given by the user in the browser. So it will generate a request. This URL will generate a request. Okay. So let me just have added. Don't forget to tick mark over here. Add information to deployment descriptor. Let me give the URL pattern as /hello. You can give any name over here. Okay. You can even give the name, same name as the class name. And then I said finish. And now I want to run this servlet1. So how will I run it? I'll say right click on it and say run file. It will ask me that what is the URL that you want to use. Is this the URL? You'll say yes. And if you want to pass anything, you can pass something. You don't want to pass any parameters. So I'll simply say okay. So check this out. It will start the browser and here it is. Servlet1, that is the name of the servlet at web01. And what is the URL for it? Check this out. The URL for it is this. You see the same type of URL, protocol, host name, IP address, web application name or path, context path. This is also called as context path, and the resource name. Now this resource name does not have any extension. It is not like hello.java. No, it is not like this. It is simply hello. It is simply hello. So how does the server know which file to invoke, which Java file to invoke? We are dealing with Java applications, right? The server should be running some Java application only, right? So how would the server know which Java application to run? That is done with the deployment descriptor. That part has been done with the deployment descriptor. So if I show you the deployment descriptor, see, check this out. In this web application, in the source package, I have this servlet1.java. That is the one servlet that we just created, which is inside default package. And in this web pages, I have a web.inf folder in which web.xml file has been created. That is nothing but the deployment descriptor. And that deployment descriptor has got servlet name, and that has got particularly the servlet mapping. Basically, it says that there is a servlet name, servlet1, which corresponds to servlet class, and then it does the mapping of the URL by saying that that particular servlet name will be invoked by this particular URL pattern. So user knows only this URL pattern. User does not know what is the internal servlet name referred to by the server, what is the actual class name of the Java file that will be running when you invoke this URL. User does not know. User just only knows this URL. This URL will be mapped onto the servlet name, and accordingly for that servlet name, it will be mapped onto the servlet class, and that class will then be invoked. Okay, this is how the execution takes place, which is very much different than very much different than what you did in core Java. You simply used to run Java and class name. You see, this is how we used to run the programs in previously in core Java. But now in advanced Java, you will be running not like this. You will be running it through some IDE, and you will be calling your programs through some URL. Okay. So if you are able to do this much, you are ready to go. See, if I run this, it will show me that HTML file only, index.html file only. So what if I want to give a link over here to this servlet to run this? We'll understand the servlet structure afterwards. Okay, right now we just want to make it run. Okay, so what we will do is we will basically open this index.html. In this we will put a hyperlink. Okay, we will put a hyperlink. How? A href is equal to the URL that you would give. Which URL did you give? What name did you give to in order to invoke that servlet? Hello. That was the name that you gave, right? That was the URL pattern that you gave. So you just create an anchor tag, and inside that we will say servlet1. So here we will say click here to open the servlet1. Understand? Click here to open the servlet1. So now let me run this program. If I run this program, check this out. Okay, here it is. This is the new output, h1 tag, and then click here to open servlet1. So if I click on this, check this out, what happens. If I take my cursor over here, it shows me over here the URL that will be invoked. Which URL will get invoked? This is the URL that will get invoked. Okay, we know this URL that this begins with protocol, host name, port number, context path, and the resource name. So this resource name specifies that it will be invoking a particular resource, which is nothing but a servlet. right? When will this happen? When we click on this Servlet 1. So let me click on this. I click on it and it takes me to where? It takes me to this URL. And that is nothing but the output of Servlet. This is nothing but the output of the Servlet. Okay. If you are able to do this much, it means you have successfully executed a Servlet program. Although you first ran index.html, first you ran the HTML program. Through that, you invoked a link, a hyperlink, and that hyperlink invoked a particular Servlet program. Okay, we'll go into this code deeper later on in next session. But right now, you should be able to do this much. You should be having an index.html in your program and a simple servlet, a default servlet. A default servlet will have a default code provided by this IDE. So you don't need to add any other code. That's it. This output is also given by IDE. Okay, this output is given by the code that is put by IDEs. Check this out. This output that you see is given by the default code, default skeleton code. It is called as skeleton code that is provided by NetBeans IDE. Okay, so at least if this much you should be able to do. Okay, it means you are easily able to run that, right? And if we check the Eclipse IDE, let me take you to the Eclipse IDE. So see, in this Eclipse IDE, when you open the Eclipse for the first time, it will ask you for the workspace. And that workspace you can change from over here also. Once you have set the workspace, you can even change it. You can say switch workspace. See, it will ask you something like this. Okay. When you run the Eclipse first time, very first time, it will ask you for a workspace. What is a workspace? It is nothing but a directory where all your projects will be stored. Okay. So I have given this workspace as new Eclipse workspace 2020. And once I have given it and then I click on this launch, so all my projects, whatever projects I will create will be stored inside this directory only. Okay, so I don't want to change it right now, so I'll just cancel it. But when the first time when you say, it will obviously every time whenever it is running for the first time, it will ask you, and you can just select that don't ask again. Okay, and if you have selected that you want to change the workspace, you can go to this file. From there you can go to switch workspace and you can change the workspace. Okay, understand that part. So now once you open the workspace, this is how the Eclipse IDE looks. Okay, and here is the project explorer, right? So here what we will do is, here see it gives us the options, something like this kind of options you can create. Okay, create a Maven project, a Java EE enterprise archive project. EAR means enterprise archive. Create the dynamic web project, a EJB project, right? All these kinds of things are there. What we are interested in right now, we are interested in this one, dynamic web project. Okay, a dynamic web project. So let me click on simply this one. If you don't have this kind of things provided in your Eclipse IDE, right, then what you can do is, what I would suggest is, you can simply, what you can do is, you can go to this file and you can say new dynamic web project. If this dynamic web project is available in your Eclipse IDE, that means you will be able to run your Servlet and JSP programs. Okay, if this is not available, then please make sure that you do the setting accordingly. Okay, so if I click on this dynamic web project, it will ask me for the project name, which is stored over here in new Eclipse workspace. So I will give my project name as web app 01. It asks me for runtime, which runtime do I want to use. So right now I don't have any runtime. I will have to use a new runtime. So I have not installed any runtime separately. Okay, so I will have to give an access to a particular runtime. So I'll click on this new runtime, and for that I will have to select any particular Apache runtime or any other runtime. Okay, so what I will do is I will first have to check whether I do have any runtime or not installed separately, and then I will have to give that particular runtime over here, okay, and run it out. So let me see whether I do have any runtime or not. Okay, let me go to this PC, and in that let me go to C drive, and in that let me go to program files, and in that let me go to Apache Software Foundation. Okay, I have Tomcat 8.5, right? Okay, that's it. That is it. And here, from here, let me do one thing. If I run this, then it will start the browser and all the other things. Window, where is the output window? Just let me show the output window. Okay, I will have to stop the Glassfish server first. Okay, I stopped the Glassfish server. Okay, now I can see whether Tomcat is running or not. So this Tomcat should be running. Okay, let me just take this path and provide it to my Eclipse IDE. I'll say Tomcat 8.5. Next, browse for the location. This is it. Select the folder and default workbench GRE and say finish. And then so see here it has selected target runtime. If at all any error would come, then it would show over here, or it might show over here that this is not a proper runtime or something like that. Okay, and then once you selected a runtime, you say next, and you don't add anything over here. You can even say select next, and you can, yes, here click on this generate web.xml. So this IDE also generates web.xml for you. The way NetBeans had generated, this also can generate. Okay, and then we say finish. Okay, so this has created a web app 1 project, and here you can see the structure. This particular structure has got a deployment descriptor part and Java resources folder. If you want to make web services, that is there, build folder is there, and web content. So this is our important to us, this part and Java resources part. So if I open this web content, you will see web INF folder here also. And here in that a web.xml is created. This is deployment descriptor. And in Java resources path, you have source folder where all your Java folders will, Java programs will be there, right? So what we'll do is I'll say right click on this web app, and here I will make a new what? Here I will say new. Let's create HTML file only right now and give it the name as index. It will store it in web content. Okay, I say next and finish. So this index.html file is created, and this file will be started when we start this application. This will execute when this application is running. Okay, so let me first close this NetBeans so that it does not occupy memory, and I can easily run Eclipse. So check this out. It has basically started it has given a skeleton code over here. Okay, so here I will simply say h1 and hello world. Okay, title is also hello world. Okay, now if I run this program here, how do I run it? I right click on the application, I say run as, run on server. It will ask me which particular server you want. Apache. If this server is able to run, then only my project will run. Let's see whether this runs or not. It will say that okay, you want this one where this web app is required, and then say finish. Okay, so there is some starting problem with the Tomcat 8.5 server, so that's why it is not running. But once this will run in the similar way our program had run in NetBeans. Okay, so I will just have to check what is the issue with the Tomcat, then only this will run. So if you people are able to do this much, any one of the IDE, if you are able to run, then you are ready to go with the advanced Java programs. You will be able to easily run the advanced Java programs. Okay. So now what I will do is I will stop the recording, and I'll one by one, as I said you earlier, one by one I'll be checking each and every one of your IDE installation, and in the similar manner you people will have to show me whether you are able to at least create a dynamic web application or not. Okay, that's the aim. Fine. So let me stop the recording, and please be ready with your NetBeans. Don't start when you start sharing your screen. Start it right away itself. So as soon as I tell you to share your screen, you people can show it to me. Okay.